Good morning, everyone, and welcome into Rounding the Bases Live, presented by Enterprise Bank and Trust. Happy Friday, everyone. Yes, it is Friday, hard to believe, and I hope everyone is doing well, healthy, and safe. Uh, I can't believe this. Today, I know I've said this a lot, that I started this thing back in March as I knew I was going to be out of work and really just wanted to be able to find a way to tell stories, connect with people, to continue talking about culture and leadership and entrepreneurship and all the different things that I enjoy outside of my baseball world. And here we are now, episode 100. So pretty cool. And I've had such a variety of guests on, everything from the leader of a company and a CEO to an entrepreneur and everyone in between. We've talked about all kinds of different issues and had panels talking about racial injustice and topics, important topics like that. And I've had the chance to meet so many people along the way. That's continued even during baseball season here. And today's guest and story is one that really caught my attention quickly for a couple of reasons. One, just a beautiful entrepreneurial story, and one that I think happened real organically. Um, Two, it involves military, and anyone that knows me knows that while I don't have much of a family background in military, my uncle served, my dad was in the reserves, but that's about it. I didn't grow up in a military background. Having spent so much time around the military because of the access I've had with TV, shoot, I even got to climb into a B 2 bomber before this whole mess started back in January, February, I think, with the Royals before spring training started. That was really cool. I've mentioned before over in Kuwait on a USO tour. I just had so many opportunities because of baseball and because we're so often around our troops at different events. And so I was reading a story maybe a month ago or so in Startland News, and I got to give a shout out to them. They do such a great job of really highlighting so many cool stories out there. And as soon as I saw it, I thought, how can I get a hold of this woman? Well, she has an Etsy shop, so she'd probably rather that me, be on there purchasing something. But I found her because of the Etsy shop, and she is my 100th guest, and she's out at Fort Riley, serving in the military, almost done at least in terms of active duty. So I'm really excited to welcome into the program Sergeant Daya Johnson, who has a really cool business. And before I have you talk about that, how's everything with you and your family? And you know what, I'll say this: what I learned when I went over to Kuwait was that yes, it's okay to thank our servicemen and women for their service, although I've sensed that sometimes gets a little bit awkward for you guys. But what you really prefer more is when we thank the spouse for keeping things together at home. But it's a little bit of a different situation for you and your husband because you both serve. So I'll just say thank you to you both. And how are you doing?
We're doing well, Joe. How about yourself?
No complaints. Baseball is back. I'm enjoying telling
That's good.
these stories. So you're almost done, at least with the active duty. Tell me about that.
So I've been in the active duty to join the Army Reserves. Part of the program that I'm doing the Troops to Teachers program after I get out of the military, and part of the requirement for Troops to Teachers is that you are in some sort of drilling component. So I decided to do the reserves. So that will carry me for my next 12 years or until I decide to retire.
So in the middle of all of that, we've got a little bit of an echo. So I'm gonna balance this. One of the things that I learned, that I've learned during this pandemic, is that I have to be the director, the producer, the audio guy, and all that stuff. It brings me back to my old days in television, where now I have this great crew that works with us in TV. So I have even more respect for how talented they are, because I'll mess some stuff up along the way. Anyway, that's just a warning on that one. But I want to jump right to this because if I'm saying it correctly, this business that you've started, and you've got, I'll pop this up here to start, Daya and me, and you can find her on Etsy. We'll talk about this business, but it's crochet dolls and some really really cool stuff. This started pretty organically, didn't it?
Yes, it did. It initially started back in 2013 as far as me making things to give to people. I was pregnant myself and I was crocheting things for me and sewing things for me to have. And I started making them for other people to give away as baby shower gifts. And giveaway is the is the key word in that sentence because I was giving them away. I was spending my own money to make them and then giving them as gifts. And my husband was like, "Hey, hey, hey! You have to stop. Like we're spending a lot of money to give away stuff, so you have to start charging people." So I charged the bare minimum. I think I was just charging for the price of material at that point when I started having to charge people. And as more and more people saw the things that I was making, more people would ask for stuff. I was like, okay, I have to start charging a real price for this now because it's my time and it's my energy and it's also my money that I'm putting into it. So uh, in 2016, we went to Kuwait and we were there for 9 months. And in the Army, there's such a thing as pre deployment and post deployment babies. So a lot of people found out while we were deployed that their spouses were home and they were pregnant. And they're like, oh, you know who makes baby things? Johnson. Let's get her to make a blanket. So I started making baby blankets and stuffed animals. And it just kind of took off from there when we came back, when we redeployed to Fort Stewart in 2017. I did my very first baby expo, and that was through the Fort Stewart Hospital. It just kind of slowly grew and evolved into into the business that I'm building right now. So the dolls came a little bit later. The dolls were actually a labor of love, if you will, because my daughter came home. She has natural hair, so she had her hair in twists, and she came home and she was crying, and someone told her that her hair looked like snakes. And she was like, Mom, can you just straighten my hair? And I was like, well, I'm not going to straighten your hair. I'm just going to keep your hair the way it is. And it just kind of set on my spirit. And I was like, what can I do to show you that you were pretty? And I just made her a doll that looked like her, and it had a giant afro puff on the top of his head because that was one of the ways that she wears her hair. And then that's my afro puff ballerina doll right now that other women buy for their daughters. So that's kind of where the dolls came in.
This is amazing. I didn't know that, and as you say that, I'll put up my post from my top fan, and Kiana and I talked the other day. I mean, we might just need to collaborate at some point. She's got a great podcast too. That's really cool. Thank you for your service. She's been a guest on this show, and the reason why I started to smile there is the story that you just told about your daughter was exactly what a story that I had heard from a pastor that I had on recently, who was talking about how much he loves to go to Target, but he goes to Target with his daughter, and there's not a doll for him to pick out that looks like her. It's all white doll, blonde hair, white doll, brown hair, and so it was just you got me thinking about that you basically right in the moment there had this ability to show your daughter, no, this is what you look like, this is who you are, and it's okay. And so I wasn't planning on going there at this point, but I'm wondering how much of that you hear or see, or how much you have that ability right now to create whatever anybody wants, essentially.
Right. So I hear it so often. When I first started having them at my when I would either do a craft show or a baby expo, women would see those dolls and they would immediately come running because they're like, "Oh my goodness, this looks like my daughter." Last year at the summer swing, I had a little girl. Her mom literally burst into tears and started crying because she saw the doll and she was like, "This looks exactly like my daughter." And like maybe 30 minutes later, she came running her daughter, and the little girl was like, "Oh, it looks like me." And those type of things really melt my heart because it's like that's the feeling that I want people to have. Like, oh, it's so pretty, it's so cute. And it's like, but that's you. You're so pretty, you're so cute. I want you to have that, to know that you are beautiful. Maybe it's not what people normally say is like the natural construct of beauty, but you are beautiful.
I love it, and you get me thinking a little bit about, and then I want to show the dolls, and I want to really talk more about this business. I go off on tangents. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. I think this is a good one. But and one more comment from Kiana: Black women in our hair. That's a huge thing. We need to show babies who they are. I love that. I'd heard a story during some of the protests and racial injustice of a local reporter, local black reporter who had never who had always done her hair a certain way because that's the way it was supposed to be on TV, and then she said, wait, I'm just going to do it the way I want to do it, and it's like, yeah, good for you, and that's something I never understood. These restrictions that are the this protocol, you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way. So kudos to you for doing that. And my question on that is that we so often hear, certainly in the business world, but I think it applies to anything, about finding your purpose, finding your why. And it's not enough. The why is not I want to make money. We all want to make money. I mean, we all want to be successful. The why, like, why do you do what you do? And for me, on my personal standpoint, and I'll credit a lot of people in the military, I was always living my dream of talking about baseball and sports on TV. And when I started to understand that there were people stationed overseas that were reaching out to me saying that they were getting up at 3 in the morning to watch a game because it gave them a piece of home, and they could care less what the score was. That was a terrible game. They didn't care. They just wanted to see traffic on I-70 or anything that gave them this better than most, an escape from the desert where everything is so hot, depending on the time of year, and all the sand and I get it. I saw it over 4 days. So how much of a purpose have you found in this?
I've definitely found great purpose in it. It's one of the things that slowly took over more so of making the baby stuff. I still do the stuffed animals and I still do the blankets, but the joy that I get is in creating the dolls. And every doll order I get, I try to make it a little bit custom so that it's unique to that individual. And that's kind of where I see Daya and me growing into over the in the long run is being able to do the dolls more, being able to do more custom orders of them and not just a standard template, but because that does give me you're right, it fulfills my purpose and it gives me the opportunity to show girls in each form. So whether it's a brown skinned girl with just two puffs or a dark skinned girl with an afro, it just kind of lets me be able to express my creativity and show that there's a wide spectrum of Black and African American women or even women of color. And we come in different shades and then we are each individual and we're still beautiful. So it helps me be able to fulfill that creative aspect of it for me.
And I've got to imagine too, just setting that example for your daughter. I'm not sure how old your daughter is, but she's watching all of this every step of the way too.
Oh yes. My daughter, I have two daughters. I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old.
Mm.
And they see the dolls and every doll that I create, they want to be for them. So they have their own dolls. I've made them and they have mermaids and they have all of the things that I make for them before I make it or sell it to anybody else. They get the initial the initial version of it. And even now, they'll come in and they'll be, oh my God, it's so pretty, Mom. Can I have this one? Is this one for me? And I'm like, no, well, this one is I'm like, no, this one isn't for you. But for them to be able to see that and take that with them and have just that little piece in their mind that, oh, my mom makes dolls and she makes really pretty dolls. And my 7-year old, especially, she gets out there and she sells me to other girls in her class. And she's like, if you want a doll, my mom makes really pretty dolls. Or, oh, your mom is pregnant. My mom makes baby things. So she definitely has that entrepreneurial spirit. She wants to be, the 7-year old wants to be a baker. So she sees that and she has that idea of being able to have her own business. Like nothing in her world right now tells her that she can't do exactly what she wants to do. She doesn't want to work for anybody else. She doesn't want to do any of the things. She wants to own her own donut shop is her goal right now. And then my 10-year-old, especially at the age that she's at where she's about to go into middle school, to go in there at, middle school is a very trying time in anybody's life as far as being socially accepted.
Mm-hmm.
She might not necessarily need all of the social, I don't have the word for it, but, for other people to socially accept her, she has that ability to accept who she is right now as herself. So those are two.
Oops, I muted you by a second there. For a second there.
Oh,
Sorry,
it's
but
okay.
There, there we go. I first off, I love that because you already have a sales you have a sales woman. I can't call her. She's not a woman yet. She's a woman, and she will be. You have a sales girl on your staff. We'll put it that way. At 7 years old, I think that's an appropriate way to put it. I love that you have an advocate going to school who has the smarts to say, "Oh, I think my mom might have something that you need if you've got a pregnant mom." I mean, all right, she may go and she may end up being a baker or an entrepreneur or whatever it is, but she already has sales in her DNA. I want to, Daya, before I move on to the next question, I want to just give people a little bit of a feel for, and I would encourage everybody to check out the Etsy shop, but here it is at this point, and you could see a lot of Daya's work on here, and so certainly I would encourage everybody to check out the Etsy shop, and um, if you're pregnant, if you know someone's pregnant, if you're looking for that baby gift, that's my plug here right now. So I want to get back to this business because did you growing up and pre-military, did you have the entrepreneurial bug at all, or is this just your classic stumbled into it and you're off and running?
I definitely stumbled into it. Initially, when I was in high school, I wanted to be an architect.
Mm.
And when I decided to go to college, I went to Michigan State and I was a civil engineering construction management major. So this was nowhere on my crocheting was nowhere on my radar. My freshman year of college is actually how I started crocheting. My sister, I'm a twin, and my twin sister went to school all the way across the country at South Carolina State, and she picked up crocheting. And back then it was AOL, and she messaged me on AOL and she was like, "You should learn how to crochet. You can find videos on YouTube." And that's kind of where we started crocheting at way back in 2003. So I never had the idea that this would grow into a business, and I never thought that I would crochet anything for anybody that was outside of my family, because when I initially started, it was rough goings. And I made this little lap blanket for my mom that the edges were all over the place. I had the waviest edges because I didn't know how to count stitches. I didn't know how to do any of the things to make it look like something that somebody else would want that wasn't it looked handmade, not homemade. I mean, it looked homemade, not handmade. And so I never really imagined that it would become a business. And even when I was in 2013 making the stuff that I was giving away, I didn't imagine that it would be a business until I decided, okay, well, this is going to be a business. So I need to put the time and effort into perfecting my craft and learning different crochet stitches and learning how to do finishing. And the photography is still something that I struggle with, but as far as being able to take product photos and putting the actual due diligence into making it a business, I didn't have in I didn't have any idea that that's what this would be.
Well, I'm guessing you've now caught the entrepreneurial bug. I know you have, or you wouldn't still be pursuing it. I mean, it's amazing. You know what's you said something a little bit earlier. I want to back up to. It's interesting to me because the thought initially wasn't to charge people for something that you were doing until your husband gave you that nudge of saying, you know, we're spending money here, and that seems like such an obvious thing. But I also know, like, mentally and I've been there. I mean, I started a speaking business. I know it's totally different. I couldn't crochet a thing to save my life, but and anybody knows me that would know that that's true. I can't sew. I can't do anything. I'm a total. I break stuff. I don't fix it. I don't make it. Uh, but it's a strange thing. Like for me, I had always spoken to groups just as part of what I do. Like go to the Rotary Club, speak for free. Go to the church group, speak for free. And then suddenly someone's encouraging me to start a business. And I'm like, wait, that's kind of awkward to charge for that though. I don't know what to charge. I don't know how much to do. I don't know how how tough was that to go from that. Oh, I just like doing this and this feels good to oh my gosh, I'm supposed to ask for money here.
Right. That was probably one of the things that stopped me from pursuing it as a business for so long, was the idea of now I have to charge somebody. So it felt like really slimy for me to say, oh, if you want me to make this for you, you have to pay me for it. And that took a lot of getting over, because one of the sayings in one of my small business groups is know your worth and then add tax to it. So you have to, in order for you to be sustainable, in order for you to keep doing what you're doing and see the growth and fulfill potential, you're going to have to charge people for it. But when you're initially starting out, the idea of, oh my God, let me, even if it's $20 for you to say, let me give me the $20 for me to buy the material for it, it still felt really cringy to me. So I was like, how is it that how do you get over this fear of doing that, or the bigger fear of what if they say no, I'm not going to pay you for that, or never mind, I don't want it because I don't want to pay for it, I thought it was something that you were giving for free, or even you gave so many other people this for free, and like where's the line that you draw to now, that so it's like, so why am I different from the other people that you gave something to? So part of that is I'll show you the book actually because it's right here.
Mm.
And it's To Sell is Human is one of the books. And this was one of the books that was recommended in our small business group, as far as being able to get over that initial fear of being able to sell things to people. So it's like, do you see value in the things that you do? And if you see value in the product that you're making, then you should be able to charge what that product is worth. So if you go to Walmart and you buy a baby blanket and they're charging $20 for the blanket, you can't charge $20 for that same for a blanket that you make, because you had to pay gas to be able to go to the store to purchase those materials. You had to purchase the materials. Walmart can make 1,000 of them in bulk and sell them for $20. But in that same space of time, you have to spend. So even if it takes you 2 hours, that was 2 hours of your time that if you were going to a regular job, even if you were getting paid minimum wage, you still have to get at least get your minimum wage out of it. So if you say your minimum wage is $10 an hour, well then that's $20 right there of your time. So now you have to add the amount that you paid for the materials, and then add the tax to it, because if you're going to list it on Etsy, then you have to pay the Etsy seller fees, and then you have to pay the listing fees, and then you also have to pay taxes, which is one thing that's not talked about a lot in small business, is paying taxes, and that's a real thing. Paying taxes is a real thing. So even in your side jobs or your hobbies, if you're going to charge other people for it, the government wants a piece of that. So I do have to add tax to the things that I'm selling. So being able to look at it as being as a business and not just a hobby has been it was a real struggle at first, and it's still something that I kind of teeter on the edge of, but I know that those do. Then I definitely have to like reevaluate, like, is this something that you want to continue to do as a business? Because if that's the case, then you're going to have to continue to charge for it as a business.
And I think I so understand what you're saying because I went through it all. I'm still going through it all. For me and the services that I offer, there's that awkward question, and I don't have them posted on a website because it is customizable of what do you charge? And there's always that, are they going to think it's too much? Are they going to think it's too little? What if I cheat myself? What if I'm cheating them? What if they say no? I personally, what I have learned, and I'm still struggling with it, but I think it's important, is no is okay. And oftentimes no. You've heard, I think people say something like no could open up other yeses. I mean, no. If no keeps you from spending all of that time that isn't going to be properly invested, and the other thing too that I've observed, and I'm curious your take on it, Daya, is that initial lack of expectation. Wait a minute, people really are going to pay for this. Wait a minute, what if they expect? They're expecting to pay. Like so much of that doubt or that fear is in our own heads. It's not in their heads. And once you become, at least for me, once I became okay with this is what it is, and hey, if that's too much for you and we can't work something out, totally fine. I understand. Have has that gotten easier for you?
So it has gotten easier for me only only recently, and by recently I mean within the last year, of somebody saying no, that's too expensive. And it's like, well, you can't tell me that it's too expensive because it's my time. And then also because there's other people who have paid the price that I've asked for it. So I've slowly gotten over the no's, or someone saying that's too expensive, or I know someone who can make it cheaper, because that's one of the bigger things that I get. Especially, it's like, oh well, my cousin crochets, and it's like, I don't want to be rude, but it's like, okay, well then ask your cousin to make it, because if you don't want to pay for you don't want to pay what I'm asking for it, then you're devaluing my time. And if that's the case, that's my time, that's my energy, and that's my expertise. So your cousin can make it, but is it going to look exactly the same as what I made? If the answer is no, then pay what I'm asking. If not, then there's probably going to be somebody else that comes behind you that's willing to pay that. So, in that aspect, it has gotten easier, but getting there was definitely a process. And I understand, it's like, am I devaluing myself, or am I not giving that person a quality that they're expecting when they see that price tag. So, one of the things I do is I just try to make sure that I'm giving my 110 best every single time. So I'm counting the stitches, I'm not taking shortcuts, and I try to make sure that what I'm charging people, they're getting more, a little more than what it's worth. So
And to
that's
me, the other side, I mean, the other side to me too is that one of those knows that what you would have done for half price is going to make itself up with the next full price sale. So I mean, and you know, here's something that no one will ever question, and I've learned this: that when someone questions you, you know, I'm providing for my daughters, or I'm providing for my son and my daughter. I've got a business and a family to run. Like, who's going to ever question providing for a family? And then look, they got a choice to make, yes or no, and that there's a reason why they didn't ask their cousin before they asked you. Yeah, you know. So I mean, that's just the way that is. One of the questions I wanted to ask was here you are now, um, Sergeant Daya Johnson in the Army, and you'll still have those military responsibilities, obviously, in the reserves. You've got your business. You're a mom. You're a wife. And you managed to somehow do a lot of this with both your husband and you at one point deployed. I know you guys aren't the only married couple in the military, but I'm always amazed at how families can do this with one person deployed, and yet you guys have been able to do it with two. What's the secret?
The secret is family. And I know that not everyone has that, but our families have been so supportive and have been able to step in and help. When we were both deployed, I was able to send them to my mom and my dad helped tremendously. Getting the kids enrolled and getting the kids, to doctor's appointments and daycare, and making sure that they had everything that they needed during that time that we were deployed. Even when my husband went to Korea and I was, still here with the kids myself, his family was able to come in and help. And literally, we would not have been able to make these last 8 years work without the support of our family. And that's our parents, that's our siblings, and even our friends, because there's been times where it's like, hey, I have a field exercise and my husband has something that's going on that weekend. He may have duty, or um, our parents aren't able to immediately come, and we've had friends be able to say, oh, I'll watch your kids for the 3 or 4 days until your husband can get back. Or definitely the support of our families. We would not have been able to, without them, we would definitely not be sitting here, because my mom, my twin sister is also in the military, and she's been to several places on deployments and TDYs to Africa and Trinidad. And she's a medic. So, if there's a national disaster and her unit got called in to go for those national disasters, even with COVID, her unit got called up to go assist with COVID. And my mom, who was in New York, had to make that decision of, do I bring the kids to New York into the middle of the epidemic so that you can go and fulfill your obligation to this country? And at every step of the way, my mom has been she didn't raise her right hand with the rest of us, but she is definitely standing right there behind us with holding us up in the back. So definitely the supportive family.
Very inspiring. It always starts with mom. I think we all know that one. So kudos to your mom and your family and extended family and friends for for making it work. It's a reminder, and I know as much as a guy like me can know the amount of sacrifice involved across the board. It's why I said at the top of the show that I always really like to make sure that I thank the spouse or the significant other because oftentimes they're the ones keeping things together. So while I thank you and your husband and your sister for your service, someone was helping keep this together, and obviously, what a blessing to have your family and his family too. Last thing as we wrap it up, and let me remind everybody again that they can get more information at dayaandme.etsy.com, and really easy to find. I mean, I just pulled it right off of that Startland article, and I found it. I stalked Daya and like that, sent a message, and I don't know. I didn't with teenagers right now. I'm in that in between stage, right? We don't really have anybody to buy anything for, and before we know it, we will. I'll be saying, oh wait a minute, I'm gonna need to get a hold of Daya here because people are starting to have it. We're not there yet. Please no. We got a 15 and a 17-year-old, but this thing is obviously growing, and you're going to have more time now with your new role coming up in the reserves. So give me an idea of where you want to see this going over, say, the next year, and then long term. Is this something that you want to build into who knows what?
And it's weird that you asked that question because I was just having that conversation with my husband last night. Long term, I would like to get to for this next year, I want to focus on being able to do more craft shows or baby expos. But because in person events are kind of canceled right now, at least being able to do those virtual shows to so be able to participate more in those events. And then as time goes on, I would like to be able to be in a place where I'm either able to offer crochet classes where I teach people how to make these things, or to get my even a small business or a boutique kind of store to where people are searching for baby things, or even a small children's store, to be able to have my products featured in stores like that. So I I'm not sure what that looks like, but I'm definitely open to whatever this morphs into going forward.
Well, the beauty of it, and I actually didn't mention this. I'll wrap up with this, and I'm not sure what your guys' long term plans are. I know that military families move around a lot, but the beauty of e-commerce and being on Etsy is you could do this from anywhere. I hope you're not moving all around the world anymore, but you can do it from anywhere. So, how much has that helped, especially during this pandemic and with the military background of being able to run this business no matter what's going on?
That's actually, you hit the nail right on the head. The beauty of it is because I can do it online, I built up a following in Georgia, and that following was able to follow me to Kansas because it's virtual. It wasn't necessarily the community, the in-person community, but rather the virtual community. So, able to check and see all the things that I'm doing and participate and support me. And then the same thing here in Kansas City and Junction City, being able to build up that following and that support system. So wherever we go, because it's online through Instagram and through Etsy and Facebook, they'll still be able to see that growth and participate and support me no matter where we go. And like you said, I hope we don't have to move all across the country or too far, but I know the next duty station that we go, it will still be pregnant people, and there'll still be, moms and babies and people with smaller children. So I'll be able to continue to grow this business.
And you know that wherever you go, you'll get an immediate into the school because your daughter will just start the whole sales pitch again for whoever those new clients are.
She does. Yes, I can definitely rely on her because she is my number one salesman. She is definitely my number one salesman.
That that is not a bad thing to have, by the way. Who is going to say no to a 7-year old that has passion for what her mom is doing? And yeah, you might need to work out a little bit of a commission plan there for her with what she's doing. But anyway, um, I'm really glad we got a chance to do this. So often the people that I meet on this show, and I am a lot of times, I'm just quite literally meeting them just like I did with you today, but they usually come with a recommendation from just my network. Hey, I know someone that would be good on your show, and this was one that I saw that article. It was early in the morning. I was laying in bed. I'm like, this is a really cool story. I mean, here's a woman that that's sacrificing for her country, that is a mom and is away from home and still creating this business. And I think I reached out to you within a matter of minutes, and I think you reached back out to me within a matter of minutes after that, and here we are. So to you, your husband, your sister, all your family, thanks for the service, and then just congratulations on the business. And if any step along the way I could do anything to help in terms of promotion, the beauty of the social media world, I like the way you said it. People will continue getting pregnant, having babies, raising kids, so there'll always be a need for this ability to customize. So, Sergeant Daya Johnson, thank you so much for visiting on the show today, for your service, and congratulations too on the change that you're about to make in terms of moving over to the reserve side.
Thank you so much for your support. Not just to my business, but also for the military. That's one of the things that I always make sure that I tell people is thank you for your support, because people say thank you for service, and I know people get that pause and it's like, well, what do I say? And the answer is thank you for your support, because not everyone has that opportunity to say thank you. So
Yeah, I
thank you,
like
and it was
that.
nice
And
to meet you, and thank you for letting me come on your platform and speak.
so here is thank you. Here is the information one more time, and it'll be up on my social media too. DayaandMe.etsy.com. Hang tight, Daya, for 1 second, and we'll just wrap up the show here. Couple of things. One, and I can't believe that I forgot to do this. I'll have to. Oh, it's because I deleted it off my thing. That's why I didn't see it. Let me create this banner as we're speaking right now. Sometimes you got to go on the fly here, but I forgot to mention it's because I deleted it accidentally. That Kansas City audio visual has set me up with the studio here, which has really been awesome because, like everybody else, I'm able to work out of the house, but I'm able to really do a lot of work baseball related because we're not able to get into the locker rooms, and we're not able to get access to the field, and we're not traveling this year, that I can do an interview this afternoon. So actually, uh, I believe that Day is Fort Riley, so this Junction City area. Our guest tonight on Royals, I believe, will be the proud Junction City, Kansas native, Nick Heath, who made his big league debut a few days ago, and he had his first big league hit last night, first big league stolen base, first big league RBI, first big league run. He's just a really good, upbeat, positive, energetic guy. So hopefully visiting with him right out of here later today. But I want to thank all of you again. I didn't make a whole big deal about it, but episode number 100. I hope 100 more to come, and many, many more, telling stories like Daya Johnson's and many others. So thanks to KCAV for help with the studio. They could take care of the biggest of audio and visual needs. And as always, a huge thanks to my friends and partner, uh, sponsor over at Enterprise Bank and Trust, hashtag no stopping you. Have a great, safe weekend, everyone. Hope to see you back here on Monday. My name is Joel Goldberg. Thanks for watching Rounding the Bases Live, presented by Enterprise Bank and